people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Donald Trump Jr. attends IBA boxing event in Turkey, discusses controversies in women's boxing. The son of U.S. President was also invited to a major boxing event planned for Dubai. American business mogul Donald Trump Jr. attended an International Boxing Association business event this past week in Istanbul. Donald Trump Jr. is the eldest son of U.S. President Donald Trump. The president is a passionate boxing fan and has staged major boxing matches at his Atlantic City hotel properties in recent years. The IBA Sport Plus Business Forum was organized in Istanbul by the organization's president, Umar Kremlev, who shared the stage with Donald Trump Jr. I probably don't belong to this incredible family of champions and legends, but my family has been involved in boxing for many years. I grew up watching those great Saturday night fights, learning from the front row about work ethic, discipline, and unity, Donald Trump Jr. said at the event. I remember sitting beside Lennox Lewis, watching and learning not just about the sport, but about life. Even after the most brutal fights, two opponents come together with deep respect. That is the best of people. Umar Kremlev's administration of the IBA has attracted notable attention for the disqualification of two boxers, Lin Yuting of Chinese Taipei and Emain Khalif of Algeria, over gender testing issues. For the IBA's purposes regarding boxing competitions, gender is determined by chromosome composition. No published legal medical evidence has been published regarding either fighter, most of which because they lawyered up to prevent that information from being disseminated. However, the fighter was the target of significant social media controversy when she went on to win a gold medal at the 2024 Paris Olympics that the IBA protested. In case you don't know the story, back when the IBA was overseeing all of the amateur boxing, they banned Lin Yuting and Emain Khalif from competition on the premise that they have male chromosomes. Fast forward, they lost recognition from the IOC due to the unrelated matter of corruption and match fixing. So the IBA no longer overseeing amateur boxing, the IOC allowed those two controversial Olympians to compete in their games. What I saw at the last Olympic Games was truly sad, especially as the father of a young female athlete, said Donald Trump Jr. For further clarification, it's not likely that the IBA will go back to overseeing all the amateur boxing since another organization has been formed in its stead, World Boxing, and they're the ones overseeing all of the amateur tournaments leading up to the Olympics moving forward. So where does that leave the IBA? Well, the IBA has thrown their hat in the ring of professional boxing, staging professional boxing matches. That's what they're doing now. They're basically promoters now. The fairness of the sport matters. My daughter has dedicated her life to excellence, and to see those values undermined is unacceptable. What Umar Kremlev is doing, restoring actual fairness, bringing back the purity of boxing, and giving the youth of today a chance to step away from the computer and into the ring is extraordinary. This is not just about boxing, it's about life lessons, discipline, integrity, and opportunity. That's the legacy we need, and I am proud to call Umar not only a leader, but a friend, said Donald Trump Jr. The American businessman was also publicly invited to be a guest of honor at the IBA Men's World Boxing Championships, which is planned to take place in Dubai later this year. Notable boxing personalities attending the event include Manny Pacquiao and Rashida Ali, the granddaughter of the late Muhammad Ali, a former heavyweight champion. Ms. Ali is also a social activist. So what you need to understand about the IBA moving forward is that they're no longer overseeing amateur boxing and amateur tournaments, and they're basically promoters now, well-funded promoters now, as there was a story not but a few months ago that they wanted to host the Better Beef versus Bivol trilogy, and according to Artur Better Beef's people, they put up more money to host that fight than Turkey LL Sheik.
Heard that right. They were going to pay those guys more than Turkey had just paid them. So understand that the IBA is a well-funded, well-connected organization.
Reason you might want to pay attention to this. Here stateside, there's been a lot of talk about the formation of UBOs as a result of the amendments to the Muhammad Ali Act, what is being dubbed the Muhammad Ali Revival Act, as a result of Zuffa Boxing's entry into the boxing space. The fear is that other leagues just like it might start to form. Now, in truth, it's highly unlikely that any promoter operating in America will form their own league like TKO, like Zuffa Boxing.
And we've already been all through that. There's no need to do it. But if there were an entity out there, somewhere out there in the boxing space that could theoretically form a league of their own, it would be the IBA. That's how well-funded and well-connected they are. But because they don't actually operate in America, all this hullabaloo about the Muhammad Ali Act, it's not even a thing to them. It's not even a thing outside of the United States.
That's just for a perspective that if there were anybody else out there who could form a league, the IBA could form a league.
For the longest time, Eastern European fighters have been basically forced to have to come to this side of the world, America in particular, for opportunities. But now that the IBA has thrown their hat in the ring of professional boxing, some of them may not have to. If they're going to be staging events in Istanbul and Dubai and Russia.
You know, Russia's been producing great amateurs and great professionals for a long time now, but many of them have had to come here for opportunities. Boxing now being more a world sport than it ever was in previous eras, that might change. If there's a big-time promotional outfit in their region of the world over there staging their own events, they may not have to. Unbeknownst to most, Bakadir Jalilov boxed today in an IBA show.
The Olympic gold medalist, dubbed the Big Uzbek, he fought today in one of their shows.
This continues. With this amount of money flowing through the professional boxing scene over there, the Far East may become another big boxing market. Eastern European fighters may not have to subject themselves to dodgy scorecards in the United States if they can make their money closer to home. And I don't mind the idea of that, to be honest. The more developing boxing markets, the better. The IBA is an entity in the sport that you want to keep an eye on.
They definitely bought into that story quite heavily, Box to Box and Netflix. For us, we're in no tearing rush to sell the company. I mean, we did a deal for 13%, recently with Pitch and the Qataris, and now obviously there's a lot of interest to take another, say, minority stake, but a bigger stake within the company. And, potentially we may sell the business, but we're lucky enough to be in a position where it's not like we need to raise funds or we need to, go looking for capital. We are very solid, but there's a lot of people looking at the business. And I think the doc enabled people to understand the breadth of the business rather than just saying it's boxing. Like when you realise darts is nearly twice as big as boxing.
Eddie Hearn right there addressed something that's unbeknownst to most American boxing fans, that Matchroom doesn't just do boxing, they also do darts, and they actually make more money from darts than they do boxing. But Matchroom is in a great place and a great position overall as they're garnering interest for those who want to buy shares in their company.
Not just buy shares, buy the company. They're bouncing that idea around too, and as Eddie stated, it's not that they're looking to sell so much as that people are looking to buy, because that's how well Matchroom is doing. And
I mean, do you remember when the promoters in America tried to convince me and you that Eddie Hearn doesn't know what the fuck he's doing? He's just a small-time UK promoter that needs to stick to the UK, when he's making it in the international market, the global market, in ways that they are not, garnering interest into his company that they're not garnering into theirs.
But this is a guy that says he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing.
That's not all. Might have heard a little over a week ago that Matchroom Boxing has joined forces with Jay-Z's Roc Nation Sports International in new global strategic partnership.
This news broke at the end of last month.
The official press release reads, Matchroom Boxing has announced the new strategic consulting partnership with renowned agency Roc Nation Sports International. This collaboration will focus on expanding Matchroom Boxing's global reach, unlocking new opportunities across sports and culture, with a key focus on its operations in the United States. RNSI will serve as a strategic partner to amplify Matchroom Boxing's global presence by connecting with fans and partners through innovative storytelling, cultural integration, and media amplification. This partnership comes on the heels of Matchroom Boxing's recent rebrand, signaling a new era for the company. In addition to this, a core pillar of Roc Nation Sports International's role will be to support Matchroom Boxing's commercial strategy worldwide, assisting with sponsorships, partnerships, and long-term opportunities. This collaboration is also designed to support the promotion of Matchroom Boxing's suite of events, while exploring new ways to amplify the stories of a vast roster of talented fighters. By bringing together Roc Nation Sports International's commercial expertise, cultural insight, and media reach, this 360 partnership is designed to strengthen Matchroom Boxing's global footprint and unlock long-term opportunities for the business. The announcement comes just after the global launch of the new Netflix documentary, Matchroom, The Greatest Showman, and a few weeks before a major fight night at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philly, the first since the partnership began, when Jaron boots Ennis faces Uisma Lima in his junior middleweight debut. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Sport chairman, said, "We're delighted to announce this new partnership. Roc Nation Sports International is a powerhouse brand, and their expertise in culture and storytelling will be invaluable as we work to connect with a wider audience and enhance our brand presence. This collaboration will help us amplify our schedule of events and tell the stories of our fighters in a brand new and exciting way, especially as we continue to enhance our footprint in the United States and across the globe." Michael Yormark, president of Roc Nation Sports International, expressed his enthusiasm for this collaboration with an organization that has long-standing reputation for not only staging premier boxing events, but also for shaping the sport's culture and narrative globally. Matchroom is one of the most powerful brands in global sport, and they are constantly shaping the world of boxing, Yormark said. "We are super excited to support their next chapter of growth and assist them with our market expertise stateside as they look to increase their recognition and brand presence." Now, what does all of this mean?
Matchroom Boxing and Matchroom as a brand, Matchroom fighters will now have the assisted effort of Roc Nation to act as a megaphone to promote those fighters even further and even better. As a huge boxing fan, I've always admired Matchroom Boxing and its leaders and the incredible culture they have built around their brand. This partnership feels like a true alignment of our shared values and vision, said Yormark. It's tantamount to eyes on the ground. Roc Nation understands this market and the culture here a bit more than Matchroom, and that can help to make those Matchroom fighters and those Matchroom events even more appealing to an American audience. That's what it boils down to.
Refining your strategies and knowing your audience to make your events even more attractive, more successful, more appealing to the audience that you're marketing them to. So it seems that Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, they're making money moves, very big ones. I don't get the sense that Eddie wants to sell the company. That's just saying that if he wanted to, he could bow out with a boatload of cash. But I think he loves the game too much. You can tell.
How could he not? Look at where he's taken his father's company.
And as stated, this is the guy that the promoters in America tried to convince you, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. This is not going to last. DAZN is going to go under. Fast forward.
How are they holding up versus how Matchroom is holding up?
Just in keeping with the theme of all things Matchroom, Jaron Ennis snubs Terence Crawford on his Mount Rushmore, saying, "I like who I like." He was already considered a terrific fighter, but after beating Canelo Alvarez, many believe Terence Crawford entered the all-time great category. Not everyone, however, gives him that credit. Some called it a suicide mission when Crawford decided to move up 2 weight classes to face Alvarez for his undisputed super middleweight throne. Yet despite how many people told him he lost his mind, and regardless of the tens of thousands who booed him at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas on September 13th, he went out there and got it done. Since then, Crawford has found himself on even his biggest critics' Mount Rushmores. For those who aren't familiar, a Mount Rushmore consists of 4 all-time great fighters, players, depending on the sport. Jaron Ennis recently gave Crawford credit for becoming the first man to grab undisputed glory in 3 separate weight divisions, but in terms of his own Mount Rushmore, Crawford didn't make the cut. I like Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm watching a little bit of him, and James Toney, Ennis told several reporters, they're my top guys that I've been watching. I don't think anybody should be surprised that Terence Crawford doesn't grace Jaron Ennis's Mount Rushmore, because in some ways that's his contemporary, that's his rival, so to speak.
He doesn't look up to him, per se.
I don't expect him to, least of all when the biggest part of selling Jaron Ennis as a fighter has been attaching his name to Terence Crawford, up until the point that Showtime Boxing started doing that, billing Jaron Ennis as the anti-Crawford. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was talking about this guy, even though he was right there the whole time. It's not until they attach his name to Crawford's in an effort to shield Errol Spence from Crawford that Boots' career gained any traction. Although Crawford is the man of the hour in a few short weeks, Ennis will grab some of the spotlight, having become a unified welterweight champion at a Montestanionis' expense in April. The smooth switch hitter confirmed he'd be moving up in weight. The 28-year-old dropped his Ring Magazine, IBF, and WBA titles in preparation for his junior middleweight debut and homecoming bout, which comes against Luis Malima on October 11th at Philly's Xfinity Mobile Arena. Ennis has wanted to face Crawford for the better part of 2 years, or so he's said. As time has passed, the potential fight materializing has become increasingly unrealistic. With the future Hall of Famer winding down his career, he's keen to rack up more accolades elsewhere. However, no matter what he does, it appears unlikely that Ennis will view him in as high regard as most do, saying simply, I like who I like.
These are just my thoughts. I don't expect Jaron Ennis to look up to a guy he's actively competing against in one way, shape, or form. I don't expect him to look up to any active boxer right now, because the boxers themselves are often egomaniacs. Every single one of them thinks they're the best thing since sliced bread, so they're not going to look up to a guy that's fighting at the same time as them. That's just common sense.
There is a feeling that Jaron Ennis is shading Terence Crawford, not just because he doesn't have him on his Mount Rushmore, but because he claimed he didn't even watch the fight with him and Canelo.
So he says, but he cared enough to spar Canelo in preparation for that fight. The story is Jaron Ennis reached out to Canelo to be his sparring partner.
To prepare him for Terence so that the night of he could fall asleep on the night. Fall asleep on the fight. Yeah, right.
There's a bit of jealousy there. I think the green-eyed monster has a hold of Jaron Ennis, but that's hardly a big revelation.